Live tonight from the Daytona International Speedway, LSRTV is happy to say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the Shine MSD Healing Through the Arts 250 for the World Center of Racing, and we are happy that you're with us on your home for sim racing and iRacing Live. Myself, Evan Pisoko, joined by Taylor Frey in the LSRTV booth. Our producer downstairs is Randy Chenneth. He's bringing us to you this evening as the sun sets over Daytona Beach, Florida, and we have trucks on track, Taylor, as we get set to go 100 laps, 250 miles on deck this evening.
And these guys do have a fast repair, so these guys are going to be a little more aggressive than normal. Trucks at Daytona, especially at night, it's going to be one heck of a show.
And they roll down, so let's take a look at top to bottom at your LSRTV starting grid. Drivers took 2-lap single truck qualifying session, and a 51.024 for David McCullough puts him on pole position. So the 8 truck will bring us to the green flag this evening with the number 88 machine of William Kruska to his right-hand side. Continuing on through to row number 2, Kenneth McCullough Jr. ends up in this one third on the grid with Matt Arcara in the number 4 spot, and Nate S. Stewart rounds out your top 5.
TJ Fields will be in the 6th position in row number 3. In row number 4, we have Jake Van Wazzer in 7th position next to Jacob Fritz in 8th place. And Caleb Weekly will be in row number 5 in the 9th place position.
And then continuing on through, you also have, to round out your top 10, Patrick Langley, David Westergreen, Brian Ramstack, they make her up 6th. That's 11th and 12th spot. And then the final trucks to take a time in qualifying will be Brandon Miranda, 13th, Lyle Johnson, 14th, with David Strackbean and Alexander Stizen in 16th position. The rest of all of these spots go provisionally 17th through 20th. It is Christopher McCullough, Daniel Solo, also with Kevin Spencer and Brent Jones through 17, 18, 19, and 20. But happy with you for another special event with our friends at Sim Racers for Mental Health as we get set for this month's weekly event. And the trucks are getting set to race it from Daytona. The pace car is off and down to the safety of pit road. So it is going to be David McCullough who brings us to the green flag underway for the Sean MSD 250. Long way from home, as it looks like the total number of cars is all 20 of them across the start-finish line. First time into turn 1.
That outside line is not having a great start at all. Only 2 trucks, maybe 3 trucks. Now it's gone down to 2 as the 88 truck moves out to the inside line, and it's just the inside line having a freight train early on in the race.
You certainly expect the bottom of the racetrack to be the place to be early on in this one. You see that breakaway now at about 3-4 car lengths down on the inside line, led by McCullough. You've also got McCullough now tucked into the number 2 spot. That's Kenneth McCullough Jr., second in line to David McCullough. And then William Kruska did a pretty good job after starting on the outside of the front row P2 to jump down in line and get him a spot. And at the completion of the first 2.5 miles, the inside now leads by 7 car lengths as everybody tries to get down and hold on to that early track position.
Early on in the race, we're going to be seeing a lot of single file racing. However, once pit stops and other stuff rolls around, we're going to be seeing a lot more aggressive racing. That's just how it always is around here at Daytona. It starts off calm, and then once everybody starts getting impatient, it's going to become aggressive.
And the question is going to be, how early is that aggressive driving going to come? You mentioned right off to the start here that these drivers do have one quick repair available. If you're not entirely familiar with what that means, basically that car gets wadded up. You can come down to the pit lane and get one hard reset. You get a brand new truck, you go out there, and you don't have to spend time at the pits getting it repaired. Now, once you've used that quick repair, you take on damage, different story. You will have to take any optional repairs if it's even available to you to stay in this race. But that would tell me, even with one in the back pocket, you don't want to waste it. So don't expect drivers to be going 3-4 wide early on in this one, although it's not going to be single file all the way home, because as you see already, to the outside of the racetrack comes a little bit of a run. This one spearheaded by Jake Van Wazzer.
That outside line, the more people that get on that outside line, the more momentum it'll get up to the front of the field. So if one of these drivers up at the front, it could be 03 or the 88, possibly the 13 jump in front of this outside line. It could potentially get up to the front of the field. We could have a side-by-side battle for a lead, but right now that 03 is just all over the back bumper of that 8 truck, just basically tandem traffic.
And only those 2 cars right now up on the outside. There's a third one, a little bit of a straggler and falling back a tad bit. It looks like that is the 85 truck of Patrick Langley. Not necessarily hooked onto the tandem in front of him, but close enough that he retains contact with them. Inside's going to check up a little bit down the back straightaway. Of course, you got to watch the double yellow lines down on the bottom to make sure you stay up and on the racing surface. So showing you that the guys at the bottom of the racetrack certainly pushing very aggressively. They don't want to give that outside line a ton of momentum, let things open up. Looks like the 42, Christopher McCullough, thinking about joining the outside, and now it's really a matter of time. If, say, you're that 03 truck tucked in line second position, Taylor, do you stick with the 8, or seeing that run come for the outside now down to 1, do you dare maybe go up there and dance with them side by side, the battle for second?
It could potentially, the 03 could have potentially made a move up to the high side, potentially trying to take the lead early. However, making a move on lap 5 is very difficult to do, especially, you know, 5 laps in. You don't want to make a mistake, but you got a side-by-side battle for the lead. That outside line is actually starting to gain a whole lot of momentum.
Yeah, they are doing a good job, and, you know, it is only 3 trucks leading at the moment, but there's now, I think, a total of 7 up there on the outside. Certainly strength in numbers, and right there at the start-finish line, first time tonight, not David McCullough leading, with Van Wazer beating him out by 0.029 seconds to have a nose in front at the start-finish line. Now, long way to go to be able to complete that pass, but it is a good sign for the outside line, especially with these trucks. These trucks tend to be the best drafting of the top 3 NASCAR National Touring Series machines when you compare to them, you know, to the Xfinity or the Cup Series cars. So these trucks can certainly get going. You don't need a ton of cars up top to make something happen. It is going to be difficult to completely clear that inside line, and you can see that now as the 8 truck pulls clear, and it actually moves high into turn 4 to slow down that top line.
And that'll give the advantage potentially to the 03, unless the 03 is trying to bring back the 8 truck down to the inside. Not really so sure what's happening there. It looks like he's trying to stay, probably working with the 8 truck. Maybe, looks like he's starting to get a little bit of a run right now. It looks like they'll be side by side for the lead. Kenneth has started to pull out ahead just a tad bit. Now he drops back a little bit, and that's gonna give the 45 an opportunity to drop to the low side.
Now down on the inside of the racetrack as the outside loses one of the cars, but I think it's mission accomplished for Jake Van Wazer, who started this race in 7th spot, but now runs second in line on the bottom, and just as quickly as it looked like they were all secure, a big movement to the outside of the racetrack. At the line, new race leader is Matt Akara, and he's got a big push from Patrick Langley. We saw the 03 of McCullough go to the outside, and only room for 1 truck to tuck down as the 45 now becomes your new race leader, and the 85 machine of Langley takes his crack on the outside as a lot of drivers all over each other pushing down the Daytona Super Stretch. We'll see if Akara even gets to lead a lap. Here comes a big run for the 85.
Well, that inside line lost a couple drivers, and that's what gave the outside line that much momentum. I'm looking at the 03. He's getting really close to that 40, the 85's bumper just almost touched him in the corner, and that could have almost spelled bad news, because if you bump in these corners, these trucks will easily get turned, and that can spell disaster for the rest of the field. So 03 is definitely showing that he can be a very good pusher.
It's certainly good attribute, I guess, to show that you're able to get out there and work with people. The one thing that you can kind of get stuck on if you're on that outside line is you might push somebody to the race lead and never get an opportunity to go at it for yourself. So it's good to see somebody like that number 85 of Langley be able to push the 45 of a car to the race lead, and then he in his own right get that shove from, you mentioned, the Oreo Chevy. That's the 03 of McCullough and get an opportunity to lead some laps on his own. But certainly nobody's sitting back and sandbagging early on in this one. Of the 20 trucks who started this, all of them are still on track and within 2.5 seconds of your race leader. So a pretty good job of this field sticking together and side by side throughout the first half of it. As we go 2 by 2 again down into the turn, the 4 machine of Van Wazer finds himself back up on the outside, and Nate S. Stewart haven't talked a ton about that Traxxas Chevy Silverado. He's third in line up top, trying to make some noise as well.
Very difficult right now because the outside line lost a couple drivers and they're starting to fade back a little bit. Now they're starting to get the momentum back. Really difficult to keep the outside line going, but many drivers prefer the inside line. It's just going to be it's going to be like a heads and tails game of which lane's going to be the better lane, the high side or the low side. The low side will definitely check up a lot, but it's very quick through all the turns and stuff like that. However, the outside line is very, very calm, and it's very, very easy to drive. The outside line is very easy to drive, although it's not very useful at the super speedways unless you have a ton of cars up on that outside line. But we're seeing it so far that it doesn't take much for these drivers to make the outside line work.
And you can see right there as you have, it's a group of 3, but really it's more so 2 and 1. And that 4 machine Van Wazer was all over the back of the 03. But look how tight those cars on the inside are. 2nd, 3rd, 4th in line. I mean, on top of each other as they fight for position. And that's more so drivers not really fighting against each other. But you do definitely have to be up on the bumper of the cars in front of you to be able to keep that momentum on the inside of the racetrack. So it's certainly a balance that you got to strike. There's a move to the outside, though, as Langley got held out to dry. It was a car to the top lane, but not maybe the greatest place to make that move. Going into the corner, he made that transition from the bottom to the top. Probably took a little bit of speed away. Now watch him down the back straightaway, see if he can get some of that momentum back.
Well, he's got the nose out right now. The best place to make the move to the outside line is definitely on the exit of 4 on the tri-oval. However, the 45 has actually been able to clear Langley, and he's going to take the inside line. However, that gives the 03 the best opportunity to take the lead away. As he's coming down into the tri-oval, it looks like the 03 will actually lead them back across the line on the outside line, whereas the 45 is going to lead him to the inside line, but he's not going to be able to be side by side with the leader just quite yet. And it looks like now that we're going to have another, that's 4 truck pulls down to the inside, looking like he's going to try and make a move for the lead, and that was actually the best place to make a move for the lead on the inside. And it looks like the top and the bottom are both basically even through the back straightaway.
It was a very nice move by the 4. A little bit of a maybe stutter step halfway through, dove down to the inside and found himself in a good position. And now that he's got the support as they spread a little bit wide that time at a turn number 4 and a little bit close to one another, drag race to the start finish line, advantage to the inside by 1/1000th of a second. So it's certainly going to feel good to be out there leading laps. It'll be a fun statistic to look at when we get to the end of this race, and I think it'll certainly be able to tip you off a little bit as far as who's had a good night and, you know, maybe who had to work their way through the field and work a little bit harder to get into the wreck position at the end. But, I mean, at a plate track like this, you could be talking about 2-3 lead changes sometimes every single lap around. None of that gets recorded in your typical stats, so that's something also to watch. Is the 44 of a car, a little bit of a blip there, comes back in, checks up the inside line, and this is going to hand the race lead on a silver platter to the cars up top. Here comes McCullough Jr. The push is coming from the 8 of David McCullough. Both of them going to be able to get clear.
And because of that, on the outside line, he has 2 trucks, which means they're going to start fading back just pretty fast.
It's not going to be the good news for the outside line. They're going to lose basically all of that momentum that they had kind of wound up, and I wouldn't be surprised now that the outside line falls to 2 trucks if they abandon ship, but not the case. The outside got to the lowest amount of support they've had in a while. 2 more cars went up to the outside. It was the 4 and the 45, but the 45 right back down low, and once again it is Jake Van Wazer finding himself leading an outside charge that now has 3 trucks again. Certainly plenty plausible, as here comes the backup with the 12 of Caleb Weekly, the 00 of Daniel Solo, and it looks like the 88 of William Kruska also trying to find his way back to the front.
Now it looks like the outside line is starting to gain that momentum back. With a couple trucks joining in from the front of the field, that can definitely hurt the inside line, but help the outside line a lot. It's just a matter of when you want to take the chance. The biggest chance and risk of reward is at this track. You can risk losing a couple spots going to the outside line, or you can get the reward of being able to get to the lead, and many of these drivers take that risk versus reward every single lap.
And you can see that now as they are side by side. 16 laps going to be complete right here at the start-finish line. Still caution-free from Daytona, but not absent of action as they are 2 on. It looks like at about 7 rows deep in this lead pack. You want to keep you updated, though, on the rest of the field. You can see the intervals, of course, go up across the top of your screen. There is a little bit of a group that has dropped back. 18th, 19th, and 20th. That's Lyle A. Johnson, Alexander Stinson, and TJ Fields have dropped back. They are significantly off the pace, but up front, 3 wide now for the race lead, as it was the 45 who got shoved out of line, and this is not going to end well for him. The 2 car pushes up.
The 12 car sideways, but he saved it, but there's a wreck right behind him.
Caleb Weekly held on for about as long as he could as he was sideways in the corner, but it was the 96 of Kevin Spencer who was trying to find his way through that minefield. But take a look at the LSRTV replay here. Gets tagged by Weekly's truck, who's heading up the track, goes up and into Christopher McCullough's 42, and you saw the wild ride as Kevin Spencer ended up on his lid, comes back down onto all fours. But about a 3 or 4 truck incident, going to be our first yellow of the night.
And surprisingly, I'm surprised that only took out about 4 cars, because how that 12 truck was completely sideways, he was in the middle of the pack. It could have easily been 6, 7, 8, maybe 9 trucks involved in that one, but only 4 drivers are really going to be using their faster pair, possibly 5.
And of course, we mentioned that once you use that quick repair, any damage that you get for the rest of the race is, well, you're going to be stuck with it. So if you only got minor damage out of that incident, it might not be a terrible idea to just kind of sit on it for a little bit. And if it's not going to be terminal damage and the impact is minimal, don't get it quick repaired now. You would hate to use your quick repair on some pretty minor damage early, and then, of course, not have it available on a major incident later in the race. So the field is grouped up behind the pace car, going to be coming down for the first time at service, lap number 18. Expected all the drivers to fill her to the top, but the question is, what do you do on tires? Maybe 2 or none, we'll see, as maybe some drivers look for track position.
For drivers who look for track position, strategy-wise, I would go for no tires, just fill it up, because unlike the Cup cars, gassing it only will take about half as long as it would with taking all tires. The tires here at Daytona do not wear as much as tracks like Las Vegas or Atlanta, where if you run like 10 to 15 laps around it, you're going to need 4 fresh ones. Possibly, many drivers are taking 2, but for the drivers that gained a lot of positions, they definitely took only gas.
Yeah, it looks like that the race leader off of the, or I guess your race leader coming into pit road, David McCullough, took 4 tires, and that's going to cost him 4 positions off of pit road, because the driver who wins that race off of the pit lane is actually going to be Patrick Langley, the 85 truck, first car out, fuel only and no tires, will lead us back to the green flag here at Daytona as we work lap number 19 under caution. So as we pace for the first time, we'll take a quick yellow flag of our own. Step aside, and when we come back and get it back up to 190 miles an hour, you're watching the Shine MSD 250 at LSRTV and iRacing Live. Still more to come. We'll be back from Daytona. And back live from the Daytona International Speedway. Lights out on top of the iRacing.com official pace car. Restart coming up as we put the first caution flag of this Shine MSD 200 behind us. It is going to be Alexander Stinson actually leading us to the green flag. We thought it was going to be the 85 of Patrick Langley. Langley does win that race off of the pit lane. And we were just kind of thinking, well, everybody needed fuel. The question was tires, but Taylor, the 27 truck stays out, so he will be the control car, that orange entry on the inside of the front row.
Yeah, that's going to be probably a big problem for the 27 if we have a long green flag run. If we do have a long green flag run, the 27 is going to be the only car to go down pit road for several laps, which means he could potentially go a couple laps down because he will have no help whatsoever. As the pace car rolls down to the pit lane, green flag is back in the air here at Daytona.
There's a little bit of an iffy start for the cars that he inside. The fact that it is going to be the top line better start. Patrick Langley by a good bit beats Stinson to the start finish line. So the 85 get a tuck down, and now the car left hanging out, the 4 of Jake Van Wazer. No room in front of the 8 machine as McCullough tucks up. Then you've got our car there, the 00 truck, also of Daniel Solo. At a 13's got to dive out of line. I don't know if Nate S. Stewart's got a penalty or what, but it almost looked like he was thinking about coming to pit road at the green, did not, and now he goes below the double yellow to let some cars go by. He may have a penalty that he has to deal with. We'll keep an eye on him, but up front, Stinson pushed on the outside. The challenge out of the inside, it's Langley. Side by side they come at a turn 4, just now getting him really full up to speed.
Yeah, all it is right now is just 3 trucks on the inside, 3 trucks on the outside. Now it's basically a dead even. And there's several car leagues splitting this group of cars and the other group behind them. So if these drivers, they're going to be 3 wide for the 3rd position, and this will definitely split up that outside line for a brief moment or two.
Well, this is the second time, at least tonight, we've seen an instance of 3 wide, but just like the first time through, it really wasn't a truck trying to pass. It was a car on that up 3rd lane dropping back. In this case, Stinson, who went from leading the last lap to probably being scored at about the number 6 position this time through, as he falls all the way to the back of that lead group. And another thing to mention, and we talked about it on the first start of this race, about 5 laps in, everybody was still pretty tight together, a lot more spread out on this restart. May have had to do with the fact that, as I pointed out, the inside looked a little bit iffy, some checking up mid-pack coming to the green flag, but on those wider shots you can see pretty single file and a lot of spacing as the top 7 trucks actually try to run away with this one a little bit. Brandon Miranda, P7, he's about 6/10 ahead of 8th place runner William Kruska. So Kruska, with help from the 2 of Brian Ramstack, they're going to want to close that gap quickly before they get checked out.
And I do want to quickly point this out. We were talking,
the caution flag is back out, hearing maybe the 41 machine with issues on this one, but another caution flag, and it looks like David Westergreen's entry is slow, and it is going to be a caution flag. More of a save. We'll take a look at the LSRTV replay here for you. It was a battle for 14th and, well, it looks like actually maybe further back, 18th, 19th spot. Westergreen a little bit hesitant on coming down, and it was a spirited move, per se, by Nate S. Stewart to the inside. The 41 got sideways, and he didn't end up correcting that truck. It did save itself, but sideways enough for the iRacing service to automatically trigger the caution flag, and just like that, we have 2 quick yellow flags back to back.
Well, I was going to say, just before the caution came out, I was looking in the back of the field, and I believe, if I remember correctly, the 96 of Kevin Spencer was the one that went upside down on the first caution. I'm looking at his truck right now, and I don't think he ever took the fast repair that we have in this race. So I think he's taken the strategy of he's saving that fast repair till like around halfway, a couple laps to go, something like that, because that truck is very damaged, and I only saw him going about 170, 172 going down the straights.
So pit road is open once again. Patrick Langley is going to head right back down to the pit lane. Of course, we discussed the situation with that last restart on Well, how is all of that going to play out with the lack of a pit stop from your control car, the 27 of Alexander Stinson? He doesn't have to worry about pitting by himself because he's going to come down here with the majority of the field, but not everybody agreeing that this is the best time to come in and top off as we reach quarter distance in this Shine MSD 250. A couple of trucks at the front staying out. That includes Van Wazer, who's your new race leader. Brandon Miranda, William Kruska, Jacob Prince all stay out, and it'll become the new top 4.
And this could potentially smell bad news for the guys behind, depending on what this restart, how this restart occurs. If it's a repeat of the last restart, maybe the guys that are just went down pit road to either get tires or possibly just top off will be able to come up and charge it through the front of the field. Now, these guys, I think some of these guys that just stayed out didn't take tires on the last restart. I believe maybe 1 or 2 of them took tires or just took fuel. So we're going to see what happens on this restart.
It is going to be interesting strategy-wise as well. I think that if we were going to see, a calm restart that led to a lot of separation, it would have been that one. And again, it was kind of a very measly incident that ended up triggering that second caution flag. But at the end of the day, it does. I wouldn't expect to see as much separation on this next restart as you just saw on the one previous. But if it does happen to bleed into a 30 or 40 lap green flag run, maybe that's where this difference in pit strategy can come from. Of course, you're looking at if the lights go out on the pace car this time through a race that'll have 74 to go. When we do come to the green flag, you'd be looking at trying to split about 37 lap runs if you were to one-stop it from that point on to the end of this race. Doable. Maybe drivers who stayed out feel like the yellow flag didn't allow them to save fuel and hit that same number. It was a very short run between the first and the second caution flag. Your race leader right now, Jake Van Weezer, pitted under that first yellow at lap number 19. So that was only just 7 laps ago from now. So again, for those who came in and topped off on fuel, it is not going to make a substantial difference as far as how far those trucks can go, but it could make a substantive difference as far as just how far you got to get to hit your magic number to the end of this one. But the lights did go out, so another restart due up, and we'll see what Van Wazer and Miranda can do side by side on the front row. First time we've really seen that number 18 entry right up and in the thick of things. Brandon Miranda started in 13th position. He runs in second place right now. And another big mover that we have touched on a little bit, the 00 of Daniel Solo. Tip of the cap to him also. Started 18th and currently paces in P5. That'll line him up inside of row 3.
And so far, we have 26 laps going to be completed when they cross the line. 13 lead changes, so half of the laps have had different leaders crossing the line. Very crazy going on. Very crazy considering we're only like halfway through this race. We have, or nearly, well, 1/4 of a way through the race, we have 13 lead changes for 26 laps completed.
Pace car off it in. Look for the number 18 machine of Miranda, and of course the 4 of Van Wazer to be trying to go a little bit early on this one, coordinated with each other. The green flag is going to come out. We're backing away from Daytona. Second time you see the 4 machine elect to start on the outside of the front row as your control truck. Well coordinated as he tucks in front of his teammate very early, single file, the top 3.
Yeah, the top 3 have pulled away just a couple car lengths. Now it looks like the 4th place on back starting to creep its way back up. Now the question is, does the 00 tuck inside, or does he try and make a move with the 88 to the outside line?
The 88 machine, you see Kruska there in a much better spot. Remember, he was at risk of losing touch with this lead pack on that previous run before the caution flag came out, so he stays out under the yellow and I think feels a lot more comfortable about his odds now with the 00 and the 17 of Jacob Prince behind it. And again, much more single file and spacing on these last 2 restarts in comparison to what we saw at the drop of the American Ethanol green flag now 27 laps ago from now. A pretty substantial gap from the top 7 back to 8th on through. It's about a half a second difference between Matt Akara, who's the last truck in this lead pack, and except of 2 sets of 2x2 really behind them, where we find Caleb Wheatley, who was involved in the earlier incident in the 12th.
And these drivers up at the front of the field are trying to take it easy, trying to get some of these laps killed off. We're only seeing 2 trucks on the outside line right now, and they're not really much momentum. However, they are passing a couple trucks, but I don't think it'll be enough to really have like double file battles that we've had on these first 2 restarts, unless the 88 or the 00 move up. Outside line's starting to creep its way forward just only by 2 trucks, now 3 trucks. That is something I haven't seen at Daytona in a long time.
And all 20 trucks who started this race still on the lead lap as the battle for the race lead heats up. A very determined David McCullough in the Mountain Dew Chevrolet pushing the 45 of Matt Akara. And it looks like that they're going to have the advantage all the way down and back it into the corner. But does the 45 leave the help of the 8 dive down to the low? He could go. He's got space in front of Wazer. Does not do it. And instead, sticking with the 8 machine's going to sacrifice an opportunity to lead some more laps in this one, because the 4 and the 18 power right back on through and maybe make that 45 regret the decision as they cross the line first and second again.
But don't threaten now, because here comes 45. He's going to be able to get a run heading into turn number 1, possibly going to lose that momentum, and then try and have much more momentum on the back straightaway. That's the power. That's your power move, basically. The outside line will have much more momentum on the back straightaway and on the exit of 1 and 2 than they will coming into the corners of 3 and 4, because that inside line checks up a lot coming out of the exits of the corners.
It certainly doesn't help, and that's why I mentioned when we saw a move earlier in this race, a move to the outside of the racetrack going into the corner. You're going way up the hill here at Daytona International Speedway, and you lose a lot of that momentum, whereas if you're on the bottom going into the corner, you kind of dive down, you use it to your advantage. Now, exiting, it's the opposite. The bottom, you don't really gain a whole lot, but the top, you come flying down what is, at this racetrack, 31 degrees of banking. And watch the run for the 45 they get here. The inside cars get a little bit split up, and there's the speed difference. It's about, it looks like 2 miles an hour faster on the outside than the bottom. It's not going to be an end-all be-all, because Akara doesn't clear and will stay up on the outside. But that's, if you're that 8 truck, you want to line it up and set to get your runs off the turn, especially down that back straightaway. Great opportunity to do so.
One thing that I am seeing is the outside line, even though it only has 2 trucks right now, for the 8 and the 45, they're keeping up with the 4 and the 18, because what I'm seeing is the past few laps. But the 18, oh, we got a massive wreck on the exit of the tri-oval. About 5 trucks involved.
One of the major ones is Patrick Langley, the 85 truck, heavy smoke. As we go back at a caution, and the LSRTV replay will show the tail of the tape. It was Alexander Stinson who ended up getting stuck 3 wide. The 03 machine kind of stuck him out there in the middle, went to the outside. Then the 27, I don't think meant to get into anybody, but just felt the squeeze, ended up going up into the 42, who comes down into him, and that was a pretty big accident. Christopher McCullough is involved. Of course, Alexander Stinson involved. Looks like the 65, or the 85, sorry, of Patrick Langley also getting damage from this one. And now you're starting to look at a time 32 laps into this race where drivers who had been previously involved in some incidents starting to get involved with them again, and that may end the night for some drivers.
Possibly some drivers are still have their fast repairs. I think that was the first incident of all those drivers, and possibly if they haven't accidentally used their fast repairs, they're going to be able to continue racing in this race. However, one thing I was going to say is that the 4 and the 18 were really checking up a lot on that inside line. I was noticing that the 18 truck was really wiggling a lot, which was causing the 4 truck to not get much of runs out of the corners as the 45 and the 8, because I was looking on the back straightaway, and the 8 and the 45 were locked equal bumpers, and while the 18 and the 4 were kind of having a little bit of trouble, like miscommunications basically between teammates.
Certainly not something that you want to happen at any circumstance, but especially at a super speedway like Daytona. Having teammates out there on the racetrack is supposed to be certainly a helping hand. In fact, it's probably the best advantage out of any racetrack you could have that. So not how that went according to plan. We'll have another split decision here on the pit lane with Matt Akara staying out. Couple of drivers coming in. Looks like it is a 50-50 decision. So we'll take another opportunity to step aside. When we come back, we'll take a look at how the running order shakes out, closing in on halfway home in the Sean MSD 250. Right now, Matt Akara, the 45, he's leading on LSRTV.
Team racing allows multiple iRacing members to team up and race together, just like in real-world endurance series. Teammates can share driving duties, spot for one another, or be a crew chief. Team racing is free, both to join a team and to create one. Each teammate races on his or her own computer from wherever they want to. Your teammates can be anywhere in the world, and changing drivers mid-race is as easy as a click of a button. iRacing features team endurance events ranging from just a couple of hours to 24 hours in length. So, if you fancy taking part in an iRacing endurance race in the future, you can learn more about team racing on the teams page on the member website.
$10,500 richer, two-time NASCAR pilot. Is your 2013 NASCAR iRacing done? It's going to be Humpy winning the race, and it's going to be Conti taking away his first NASCAR 2017 NASCAR Beginner Free Series Championship to Ryan Luza. Federer is a four-time champion of the NASCAR Beginner Free iRacing Series.
Lights out on top of the iRacing.com pace car, back down to pit road, and we are getting back at green flag conditions in the Sean MSD 250 green flag with 35 laps complete. As we welcome you back into LSRTV and iRacing Live, up to speed down to turn number 1. So Matt Akara stayed out, still your race leader after our third exchange of pit stops under the caution flag, and we will see just how aggressive the drivers want to be on this restart, but it already looks like a lot more than the last two, still side by side throughout. Majority of the field on top of each other down the back straightaway.
Yeah, they're still double file throughout this entire field. The only one that's really one car only is basically the leader of Matt Akara. There's a couple position changes happening everywhere. They're still side by side for second all the way back.
little bit of a bobble there. Also, second truck in line on the outside. I think that's the 2 of Brian Ramstack there. You can see those trucks on the outside trying to get in coordination with one another. I think it's the 2 trying to make up his mind on where he wants to go in relation to the 8 in front of him. And the double with Daniel Solo saying, just hold her tight, but he ought to push on the outside. There's actually more trucks outside line now than there are on the inside. Maybe the first time we've seen that all night, and now dropping it backwards. 3 wide once more. The wrong way is where the 12 of Kayla Weekly's going.
17 says, I'm out of here. Drops to the
the 2-car!
2-car spinning. 18-0.
Big racket down there also at the front of the field as they wad him up in turn 3. A lot of problems at lap 37. Caution flag is out. And we will have to dissect this one on the LSRTV replay. There was a slow truck to the inside, but it's not where it started. It started with a 2. We caught the start of that one. It was Brian Ramstack got turned the 00. And we'll just mention a lot prior to that, Taylor. Those 2 were trying to figure out how to push one another. And a 00 hooks the 2. That was the first incident. And then the 00 with Daniel Solo, who was still bouncing off of the walls and probably had some damage, tagged the 18 truck. That turned him around, and once Brandon Miranda was blocking the pack, basically there was nowhere for most trucks to go, and it would have been half the field got a part of that one.
I guess we could say that that is the mega one in this case.
Certainly looking to see how many cars are actually still rolling after that. Looks like a couple of them are abandoned out and in the grass. Some still are limping back to get with the group, but you know, for the incidents that we have seen, they've been relatively minor up until this point. And then all of a sudden, a lot of major issues, and a couple of cars actually get into each other under the caution flag. Caleb Weekly with a little bit of a caution flag exchange. I think that might have been with the 4. It was of Jake Van Wazer. So a little bit of miscommunication there, or some tempers boiling over. But all of a sudden, you go from a race that had a couple of small 2-3 truck incidents to a couple of yellows here back to back, and now a big one striking in the first half.
Yeah, this is definitely going to take out like several cars. However, there's going to be a few that will use that fast repair. However, they really didn't want to use that fast repair on lap 39. I think they wanted to wait till like lap 90 or something like that.
Yeah, if you're going to have to use it, you certainly want it to happen as late as possible, so as it does not affect you in the long run. It goes back to the conversation we had earlier about maybe trying to conserve that for later on in this race. And if you have to use it at lap number 90, you got 1 lap of a restart maybe after that, and if you rack out, your race is pretty much done. If you're going to be able to keep driving, this is not going to be beneficial to you. And in fact, we do have our first truck headed to the garage. Christopher McCullough, who had a surprising amount of action up towards the front of the field, despite that he started in 17th position. It looks like he is going to be the first driver, courtesy of a couple of incidents here lately, that is not going to be able to make it home in this 250-mile event. McCullough has brought his number 42 machine behind the wall. His night now officially done. First driver to get the DNF stamp.
And hopefully that's not a sign of things to come. Now with these, with hopefully what the drivers are going through now is that they're probably going through that stage where they don't want to have this happen again. They don't want to keep pacing. They don't want to, keep wrecking trucks and all that sort of stuff, because we're not halfway there yet. We still have about 11 laps till the halfway point of this race. And it's just cars are getting wadded up, thrown into the garbage disposal, taken to the garage. Many of these drivers have already used their fast repairs. That's basically the only incident that they really want to be in for at least 30 to 40 more minutes.
And also for some of the drivers who had been limping around with a little bit of damage, having taken the quick repair already, you're going to find yourself in a situation like the 96 of Kevin Spencer. He is in his box right now. You can visually see the damage that is on the right-hand side of that Chevrolet Silverado. He's going to be on the pit lane probably right up until the restart here, trying to get that truck fixed. it is a question, I suppose, Taylor, if he's concerned about losing lead lap status or not. Because if you just take this whole caution period to get that truck fixed, you can get a good 5-6 minutes of repairs in. You're just going to lose maybe 2-3 laps. The typical way we see drivers try to chip away at damage, they'll come down to the pit lane with everybody else, sit there about minute 30, and then once the field rounds at a turn 4, they'll get going so that they don't get lapped. Of course, you leave a lot of repair time on the table, but that is in exchange to stay on the lead lap. So we'll see what Kevin Spencer wants to do. The truck is still in the box. When the field comes around, we'll have a better idea.
He's only sitting 1 lap down right now, and he's the only truck 1 lap down. The next truck behind him is 7 laps down of Alexander Stinson. Honestly, I really don't know the strategy on this for damage-wise. If you want to run laps out here and hope that more cautions come out so you can go down pit road and fix the damage more and get the lucky dog, be back on the lead lap. But if he's already used that fast repair and he's repairing that damage, that truck will never be the same, even with all that damage being repaired. It's still going to have a little less horsies than everybody else. However, it's going to be a whole lot better than going around the track with 2 more minutes of damage.
And as the field heads now into the tri-oval, presumably looking for the one to go, and there it is with the lights out on top of the pace car. Spencer's truck is still down on pit road. So it looks like that the objective for that team would be to get the damage repaired, but it looks like also now that once you're 2 laps down, it's going to be certainly difficult to recover from that. I don't see him behind the wheel of that number 96 Chevy at the moment. So it may be it for Kevin Spencer. He's not going to officially retire from this one. To be fair, neither has Alexander Stinson. Stinson right now running 7 laps down, and just as I say that, there goes Kevin Spencer. So he's gotten back onto the racetrack, gotten some of the repairs. It was not a quick repair because the right side of that truck does appear to still be sporting some of the remnants of that incident. So Spencer is going to be back, but it has cost him as he is running on lap number 39. Your race leader is pacing on lap 41. So he's still in this thing. You also have Alexander Stinson, 19th, 7 laps down. He is stationed around the pit lane, and Christopher McCullough is the only driver who has officially parked it. So a restart coming up as we go 2x2 into turn 3 with 17 trucks on the lead lap and 59 laps to go on the scoring pylon.
Probably what we're going to be seeing is just a little less aggression. We saw it on the last 2 restarts, not a whole lot of aggressive racing up at the front of the field, and now we saw a restart where there was aggression up at the front of the field, and it caused a big one. So maybe on this restart we'll see a lot less aggressive racing up at the front of the field.
Pace car headed off and in. 45 machine for the first time in 2 restarts. Your control truck wants to be on the inside line. So there goes Sakara. Green flag back in the air. 41 laps complete thus far for the World Center of Racing. How long does the outside line hang around? Watch the 8, watch the 4. Are they going to dive down to the bottom and bail ship? Or they maybe try to get a 2-3 car line going up on the outside. They've got the numbers there. If teammates Wazer and Miranda want to work with one another, it's a possibility here as the inside leads by 2 truck lengths, but here they come up top. 4 on the inside, 3 on the outside.
Well, we saw what could happen if 2 trucks were on the outside that worked extremely well together, able to get up to the front of the field. That will see what will happen with 3 trucks that look like they're working extremely well right now, work with each other as well. And I see another truck coming along on the outside line as well, making it 4 trucks on the outside line so far. However, 2 of them are bumper to bumper as the 4 and the 18 are separated by a truck length and a half, it looks like.
A good bit there. It was pretty close at the start-finish line as the advantage now is going to swing into the favor of the outside line for a brief moment, but despite the fact that we had a big one in turn 3 that led to the most recent caution flag, these drivers don't seem all that intended on hanging back and not race it again. As we mentioned, tonight's Shine MSD 250, a special event with our friends at Sim Racers for Mental Health. It is their monthly event for the month of February, so there is no long-term ramifications of not getting a good result in this race. Everybody who signed up for this one and who is competing with us this evening just wants to go out there, have fun, and of course win the race. So that's why these drivers are being maybe a little bit more aggressive early on than what you might expect. Good amount of trucks though up front, 12 within a second of your race leader.
Yeah, they're pretty much double file for several rows, 4, 5, maybe 6 rows. That outside line is starting to get more and more trucks. The 00 joined in the fray, as well as the 17. Now it looks like the 41 jumped in low, and it looks like we're going to get a 3-wide move. It looks like the 4 trying to pass the 8 through the middle, 3 wide for the lead. The 8 is going to lose a ton of spots, as he is going to drop back several positions, leaving the 4, the 18, and the 00, the top 3 of the outside line.
And once again, that third and outermost lane, not the place to be, although David McCullough is not letting the 00 get away with this one. In fact, Solo wanted to get to the inside of the 18 Miranda. That did not work. It caused a check-up with he and the 8, and maybe 4 wide there nearly, as getting squeezed out of space is David D. McCullough, who eventually tucks back in line and gets behind Solo. The 45 machine on the inside, a little bit out of line, has to find himself grouped back up, and somehow through all of that, we end up side by side once more. A battle for the top spot. Slow car down low. That is the other damaged entry we had mentioned under yellow. That's Alexander Stinson, 11 laps down, but he's on track. As your race leaders fight in contact, the 00 is going to get tagged. The 4 is sideways. It is Wazer in front of the field, and another big one.
Many cars taken out in that crash, ladies and gentlemen. That took out at least 6 or 7 cars, including our race leader, and I think both the teammates of the 4 and 18. I think those 2 got tickled as well. And I believe that'll take out, I think 2 trucks will be down pit road longer than they want. And I believe some of these drivers also have fast repairs as well. But just before the halfway point, we're basically going to be saying every driver has used their fast repair at this point.
And it was the teammate tandem of the 18 and the 4. The 18 causes that incident, and I know it was the 4 Wazer who got turned around, but somehow through all of that, the driver who really ends up with the worst of it was David Westergreen, that blue and black number 41 on his side. In fact, up and on his lid with a big hit into the outside wall, so he may also end up limping home. And just as I say that, it looks like that is going to end his night. So based on what we've seen thus far, being on your lid, not good in your hopes of fighting to the end of this race here. So McCullough also going to drop out of this race. He becomes the second driver to park it, with McCullough and now Westergreen to the garage. Race leaders staying out again. Again, we've had plenty of opportunities to come down to the pit lane and fuel up in this race. So drivers towards the front would rather defend their track position. Maybe a precautionary pit stop for Patrick Langley to come in. I don't think drivers are anywhere close to being within a fuel window to get to the end of the race, but nonetheless, Langley, Weekly, and Prince are all on the pit lane for service. Gonna step aside again. When we come back, we'll be halfway home in the Sean MSD 250. You're watching LSRTV on iRacing Live. And back live from Daytona International Speedway with another restart due up. 49 down. It's going to be 51 laps to go in this evening's Shine MSD Healing Through the Arts 250. You're watching LSRTV on iRacing Live. Evan Pasoko, Taylor Frey upstairs with you. Our director downstairs is Randy Jennett, bringing us to you this evening as the base car dives down and in. And we're going to come across the start-finish line to take halfway home from Daytona. David McCullough brings us back to green. 15 trucks at halfway, still on the lead lap.
It looks like the inside line is going to have 3, maybe 4 trucks lining up. There's only one truck all by himself, and that looks to be the 45 all by himself on the outside. And unless he can slot in right about now, which he does, it's just a single file freight train on the bottom line.
Inside, certainly a lot more strong this time through. We saw, just like we saw in the last restart, the control car gets to choose in these sim races for mental health special events if they want to lead for the inside line, which is conventional, or take the outside line. At one point, it was a couple of outside line restarts in a row, and now we're on the inside of the racetrack for a few. It's work it out, and it's give the inside line separation. We were 2 by 2 last restart. At this point, over now, pretty single file throughout.
Yeah, it's everywhere single file. Not one spot on the track is double file. Everybody's taking it nice and slow considering what we've been going through these past 2 restarts. 2 restarts and 2 big ones up at the front of the field. I think everybody now is saying, all right, time to start being less aggressive, actually get some laps clocked in, and put on the show with like 10 to go or something like that.
And certainly they've started to see that their teammates and their buddies have, wrecked out of this race, and now they're thinking, well, I don't have support to go out there and, make these crazy moves that I was doing earlier, so they definitely have to lock down, get within, 35, 30 laps to go, make that final pit stop, and then we'll see how all of this race plays out. But we have passed the halfway point in tonight's race, so let's take this opportunity to look at our iRacing Midway Race Break, brought to you by iRacing, the world's premier online racing game with professionally organized racing from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, and many more. At lap number 52, your race leader is David D. McCullough. He started it first, he runs first, and he leads the car who started in second. William Kruska's 88 is back there in the runner-up position. The battle is on for third, but last time by it was Patrick Langley's 85 in P3, with Matt Akara's entry in fourth. Brent Jones a little bit further back rounds out your top 5. Daniel Solo runs in the number 6 spot. Jake Van Wazer scored in 7th. Jacob Prince is 8th, with Lyle A. Johnson 9th, and Caleb Weekly rounded out our top 10. Taylor.
All right, and David Stragbean is in 11th. Kenneth McCullough Jr. is in 12th. TJ Fields 13th. Nate S. Stewart's in 14th. Kevin Spencer in 15th. The first driver 1 lap down. Ryan Ramstack in 16th, also 1 lap down. Those two are going to be battling for the lucky dog. If the caution comes out and one of those two is ahead of each other, they'll get the lucky dog. 17th place, Brendan Miranda, 6 laps down. And David West Green, 18th out of the iRacing simulator, 7 laps down. Alexander Stinson in 19th. And rounding out the 20-car field that we had in tonight's race, Christopher McCullough, 21 laps down.
Look down at the bottom at your iRacing Midway Race Break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, you can visit iRacing.com to sign up today. Lucky lap number 54. There are 16, 17 trucks in this race. 14 of them, as we noted there, on the lead lap, and they are all in a single file line now. What this is doing, though, is allowing the 5th and 6th place trucks to catch up. It was a little bit of a breakaway up front. In fact, we've seen that the last couple of restarts here this evening, but by running in a line, Jake Van Wazer, Jake Prince, looks like also a tandem duo of Daniel Solo and Lyle A. Johnson, 8th and 9th. They're all going to be able to catch up. So basically, you're going to have a majority of the field here running a big single file line. It's going to be awfully tempting for somebody to jump to the top and sort of make some noise.
Especially when these trucks on the inside line keep checking up. Some of these drivers will look to the outside and potentially make a move. these drivers will not stay on the inside for long, especially the patience levels for many of these drivers. The only one that's content with this single file racing is the 8 truck of David McCullough. Everybody else, they want to battle for the lead right now. However, right now it's just single file. The only one that's really out of line right now is the 45, trying to make a move to pass the 85, but got no help. He's not going to be able to get anywhere.
It's not going to be, just a quick trip up to the front. You're certainly going to need some support when you make some moves like that. And, of course, that kind of ties back in with the point we were making that with the lack of drivers and maybe teammates, people that you started driving around, it is going to be more difficult. One thing I thought was funny when we went to that midway race break, 4 of the top 10 trucks were running exactly where they started this race in. It was McCullough in first, Kruska in second, Arcara in fourth, and Jacob Prince is now in number 7 spot, but it was at that time Jake Van Wezer. So, through all of the chaos and points, great racing. We've seen spurts at 3 wide. We've seen sustained 2 wide throughout the pack. A lot of drivers ended up exactly where they started this race. Now the 88 of William Kruska is going to get stuck in a line, and maybe this will force the hand of some drivers to make some noise. Kruska's not going to go all the way to the back because he's got help. No, just kidding. Kenneth McCullough Jr. in the 03 doesn't want to work with him. Goes to the inside, and the 88 continues to fall back.
What I think happened was the 88 was trying to check up for the 8. However, with the speed difference between the 8 and the 88, he was going to probably nail it in the rear, so he went to the high side. Either that or he's potentially at risk of blowing up, because he's been basically doing what the 85's doing right now for several laps on end. And what these trucks will do is if you just do not get air to that front end, it's going to potentially blow up these race cars. So that's why many of these drivers peek to the outside, trying to get some air to the trucks.
And it's one thing that we haven't talked a ton about tonight, as you point that out, because we haven't seen, a long run of 30 laps or so, but also it's a night race at Daytona. We kicked this thing off. The sun was setting. We certainly saw the sun out during the practice session, but of course with the new day-night transition to the iRacing service, we'll be seeing this on pretty much every race, how we start at the dusk and race into the night from Daytona. So the cool conditions also very much helping with that 78 degrees temperature, 79 track temp. So it is not hot at all. So that certainly helps drivers out as far as trying to keep these machines cool. And not a huge pack also allows you to have a little breakup after every 2-3 trucks to get a nose out and have some separation. It looks like Jacob Prince right now, the only truck up on the outside. He's not really making any moves. I think he's actually going to lose a spot here to the 00 of Solo. So I don't think that was any grand gesture or scheme. I think just Prince ended up getting shuffled out and he will tuck back in line. But single file again. We thought the outside charge was coming. It's not. Wait to see how long these drivers are going to hold off for. 41 laps to go next time by, in theory, on the doorstep of getting to that fuel window to the end of the race.
These truck drivers are definitely going to need to make one more pit stop. Question is, when will they make this final pit stop? Near the end of the race? Near probably like in a couple laps or so? These drivers need to make one more stop. They cannot make it. They cannot go 50 laps on a tank of gas. If we have this on green flag, well, we're going to see another pit stop. However, if we see another caution or 2, possibly 3 more cautions, we're going to probably not see a fuel mileage race. With this single file racing, it's also helping their fuel mileage when they're in the draft.
Looking through right now, lead pack is the top 11, 12 also, I guess, if you want to count the 3 of TJ Fields. But, he looks like Caleb Weekly and Nate Stewart have dropped back a good little bit. But, not a lot of separation between 1st through 14th. It is exactly what we kind of predicted it would be when we saw the race started. Everybody stayed single file. Nobody was really pushing all that aggressively, so we never saw, that top 6-7 breakaway like we've been used to all night. Everybody is in touch with each other right now. All 14 lead lap trucks. Of course, your lap down entry in the mix as well. That's Kevin Spencer, who wants a caution flag to get back to the lead lap. The problem is he's dead middle in this lead group. So if there's an incident, it is not going to bode well for his hopes. And Brian Ramstack is out there as well, but he just lost another lap, falling now to 7 down. in 16th position. But I like the mentality if these drivers are going to stick with it. You know, you had an opportunity to race early. We mentioned that this is a special event, so there's not a ton on the line. Not that that would necessarily mean that you threw caution to the wind, but it is not as devastating. You certainly want to have fun. You want to go out there and race. But if these drivers can get to about lap 70 or so, wouldn't be surprised if maybe half of them split off, came down pit road, and tried to turn this into a strategy run to the end.
Yeah, especially right now with, having two big ones occurring. These drivers know that they just want to get to the end before they put on the spectacular showing that we've seen early on in the race. We don't want to have only two cars finishing the race, kind of like how the actual Truck Series race was just a few weeks ago. These truck drivers want to put on a nice good showing, and right now they're trying just to get to the end. And especially with a pit stop coming up soon, it's going to be drama going on to pit road as well, because the typical saying goes, when you're at Daytona on long green flag runs, you're going from about 190, 195 miles per hour to pit road speed, which is 55.
And they got to slow it down to pit road speed here, which could be interesting if it happens under green flag conditions. We haven't had that drama yet. And if we do see drivers maybe split off, a couple of different groups come down and try to play their own strategy game to the end of this one thing that's going to be critical is, of course, watching those intervals. And good as Q is any to say hi to our folks and our friends over at Joel Real Timing. Coverage of tonight's shot, MSD 250, is brought to you by Joel Real Timing, the official timing software of LSRTV. Whether you spend your time on the sim from behind the wheel, on the pit box, or from the spotter stand, JRT is the go-to software for iRacing timing and scoring analytics. You can get yourself a basic download for free or buy the full pro version today by logging on to joel-real-timing.com for more information. 63 down now in this race, 37 to go. The clock continues to wind down, and maybe a casual viewer of a super speedway race might be thinking, Taylor, well, 5 laps into this race, we're 2 wide, 3 wide, and might question why now's the point where you see drivers start to spread it out a little bit, but pretty on brand with what you would expect drivers to see. They've seen a bunch of cars get wrecked out of this one. They don't want that to happen to them either, so they're going to play it a little bit safe.
That's exactly what they're doing, especially with pit stops coming up as well. You don't want to have drivers wanting to go down pit road that are on the outside line, because that will spell more disaster for many drivers, because it's very difficult to go into the pits from the outside line when you have a truck already underneath you. So these drivers are trying to just run the race until they get to the pit stops, and then that's when we'll probably see double file, 3 wide action up at the front of the field. Right now, these drivers are going to have to make a pit stop in the next 10, 15, possibly 20 laps. The question is, who goes down when?
And I would almost think as you see a slow truck at the inside, that's another one of our lap trucks trying to come back down to get some additional service. It is Brian Ramstack, who is now 8 laps down and still in the number 16 position. I'd almost come down now. The tricky thing is, I mean, these drivers are running a pretty good pace in this, long single file line. If you come in with 2 other trucks, you might be able to be close to them. The one thing I would be concerned about is losing a lap. Because if you pit, you get a caution flag, you're trapped down a lap. You could stay out, get a wave by, but best case scenario, you find yourself at the very back of a lead pack for a late race restart. So if you do it right, though, at Daytona, you can certainly come down, pit under green flag conditions, not lose lead lap status. But again, you need help to do that. So you got to communicate with a couple of other drivers, and they're just kind of taking a quick scan over of the radio. David McCullough, Kenneth McCullough on the radio with one another. It looks like Weekly, Johnson, Stewart, and Kruzka on the radio with one another. So, there are certainly those numbers there if you decide to start that conversation and come down with everybody when this is all going to go down. Because, and there you go, just on cue, the 8's going to come down to the pit road, just as I thought. Kenneth McCullough, David McCullough in together. Jake Van Wazer follows him in also. 3 trucks to pit road.
And that was perfect timing on your end, especially speaking of like communication, stuff like that. Unlike Atlanta or Las Vegas, where the long green flag run happens, you can just go down pit road whenever you want. If you think you can make it to the end, you could go down whatever you want. However, at Daytona, if you go down all by yourself, you're basically asking to go a lap down. and be by yourself, lose the draft, not have anybody help you out, because you need to have the draft in order to survive, which means you're going to need to have 2-3 other competitors to come down pit road with you.
So McCullough, Kenneth and David both out of the pit lane. They went for complete service on pit road. They got their fuel and they took off. Jake Van Wazer, who followed them into the pit road, spent significantly less time in the box. He actually ends up in front of them, but 2 cars going to be better in the draft than one on his own. So I think those 3 will end up together. The rest of your race leaders, though, now down pit road, as looks like Kruzka's in. Arcara, you got Stewart, Prince, Weekly, Langley.
Back straight away. The 89 of Brent Jones, who was leading the race, got turned by the 14, and that is not good for the drivers that just went, well, I don't think it's trapped. Nobody went a lap down on those pit stops, so everybody's going to stay on the lead lap, which is good. Good timing.
We'll see how it's good to see how the running order plays out, but the replay shows you there, and I'm not quite sure where the 89 machine of Jones was going. The 14 went to the outside and maybe came off the wall a little bit. I think both drivers could have done a better job of avoiding that one, but that was the first placed and second place trucks involved in this one. Didn't even look like they were coming to pit road, just got into each other. Maybe a lapse in concentration. That was corner 2, and all of a sudden, we've got a caution flag in the middle of a green flag pit stops, which we thought was going to be the point in the race, Taylor, where we got our first real concrete look of who had the right strategy call, who's going to be set up to win this race. Now we don't even know what the running order is going to be, as they all try to find the pace car and group up with the yellow at 30 to go.
This is going to stack things up quite a bit. Gonna be interesting to see what comes out of this. 2 drivers tangle. The 3 at TJ Fields right now is leading, but he has to make his stop. This is going to be very, very interesting to see how this is going to turn out, because we were looking, the 88 William Kruzka was up in the top 5, top 10 heading into the pits. He's now sitting 14th, now 13th, now 12th, now that he's passed the 2 drivers in the pits. Stacked up everybody basically in the running order.
And also for the guys up at the front of the field, where the incident actually came from, they hadn't yet come down to the pit lane. So, them pitting is not only going to be to get fuel, which they would have had to plan on doing shortly anyways, but also they're going to have to come down to get those cars fixed. We talk about most drivers having already exhausted their quick repair to this point. So, you see it looks like that Alexander Stinson involved in the incident, that his night, as we mentioned earlier, is done, but now also maybe some other drivers may have to drop out of this race depending on how bad the damage is. TJ Fields is your race leader. He comes down to the pit lane a mile ahead of everybody else, and it looks like David Strackbean, who was driving a number 14 machine, had front end damage and of course was involved in the incident. I don't think he had a quick repair left. His night is done, so Strackbean going to go behind the wall, and Daytona claims another truck.
With 30 laps to go, this is now the point where everybody's going to make it. Everybody's going to start being more and more aggressive, so we're not going to be seeing that single file run that we just had. We're probably going to be seeing more double file action.
Well, certainly everybody, once they patch these trucks together, whether you got to tape them together or stick some body panels back on them, you're going to be good on field at the end unless you're leaking something. So it is not, no longer going to be play that single file line, talk on the radio, and try to surprise people with a pit stop strategy. I mean, everybody knows this is now a race to lap number 100. That is the scheduled distance of this Shine MSD 250. And, as it is with everything on the iRacing service, we go no longer or no shorter than that. There is no overtime, no green-white checker system in place. So you're going to go to lap number 100. That's all you got. The number of trucks at a lead lap looks like it's going to be at 13 when you compare to the 20 that started this race. And to be fair, just kind of taking a quick glance over all these trucks, it does look like at least the trucks that are still in this thing are in pretty good condition. I don't see anybody really driving out there with no hood, no back bumper, so certainly a ton of competitive trucks still have a shot at this thing.
Especially on lap number 70. If this were meant like a C-fix race or whatever at this length, probably going to only have like 5 trucks with minimum to no damage whatsoever. So these drivers know how these trucks handle. They know that they have 100 laps. They have a lot of time to, you know, work around each other, talk to each other, communicate with each other. That's why we saw that single file train, was because they didn't want to ride side by side, but they know that they had to pit. And once green flag pit stops happen, now we have the caution. This changes everything. Now we're going to be seeing more aggressive racing and potentially less driver communication. Hopefully not. I hope I'm wrong on that statement. But got 2 to green, and we'll see what happens. We're only going to have about 28 lap shootout. We're going to see what happens in these 29 laps. See what happens.
And I don't think we've seen in this race, you know, a 28 or 29 lap stint of green. So you would expect, especially the fact that when you're coming down to the end of the race, that a restart also may still be sprinkled in there somewhere. We'll find out when we're going to go back green. Lights still on the pace car as we pace down the back straightaway. Of course, we hope to bring more of these special monthly events to you with our friends over at Sim Races for Mental Health. Of course, our title sponsor on Monday nights with the Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series, which is powered by Sim Races for Mental Health. So in between our special events here and there, of course, hope you tune in with us on a weekly basis every Thursday, including tomorrow night, the Dr. Squatch Pro Series presented by Sesra is live right here at LSRTV and iRacing Live. That one at 9 o'clock Eastern, green flag. And then, of course, Monday nights over on the iRacing Esports Network. The Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series is in action, also a 9 Eastern start. More info on all of that on our website, www.livesimracing.com. Also, stick with us, though, on social media. Go to facebook.com/LSRTV official. And you can also follow us on Twitter at LSRTV for more information. So the lights go out on top of the pace car. We do have our number for this upcoming restart. It will be 28 laps to go. Is it going to be the final run of 28 laps to the end, though?
Depending on what happens, many of these drivers may be less aggressive, which may end up having our longest green flag run of tonight. Our longest green flag run was our last restart, but that was because those drivers had to make a pit stop, one last pit stop. But we'll see what happens here. There'll probably be one more restart after this if we see more aggressive racing. But who knows what will happen in these last 28 laps.
See how this one shakes through. Certainly the, one of the major things I think that you have to keep in mind is the fact that, well, you do have less trucks at a racetrack. That means maybe less things to hit when you're going at 190 miles an hour, but also I think there's going to be more holes for drivers to get a little bit brave or overzealous with and go through. So you can be 2-3 wide and have a decent amount of space as far as, in front of and behind you to work. So maybe that'll give an opportunity for somebody towards the back of this lead pack. Maybe a Brent Jones or a Daniel Solo, just for example, who run 11th and 12th position right now to make a splash as this race comes to its conclusion. But pace car is going to be added in, and it is Jake Van Wezer, the Ford truck in control, has opted to take the inside line for the restart. As Kenneth McCullough Jr. pulls alongside him, it's going to be a quick pull of the trigger. Green flag at back of the air at Daytona. 28 laps to go.
Top 3 single filed out, and there was a little bit of a checkup happening on the outside line. They went 3 wide almost, and that caused a lot of confusion for the most part, as now we're seeing a side-by-side battle for the lead. The 8 truck of David McCullough going up high with the 03 of Kenneth McCullough Jr. pushing him, as well as the 85 of Patrick Langley. He's coming up on the outside as well. That 4 truck left all by himself on the inside line, loses 3 spots in less than a quarter.
Certainly not good, but a lot of time to kind of pick up the pieces. These trucks just now getting up to full song. 182 miles an hour, 83, 4, 5 as they come back around to the start-finish line, but not a first lap off of the restart that Wezer would have liked. He is down in that number 4 position. certainly could be a lot worse. He's going to have quick help here. I mean, Caleb Weekly is going to be there, Jacob Prince, Nate Estumworth. They're all going to kind of jump up on the back end here and lend a helping hand. But certainly, you don't want to be playing from a disadvantage. It kind of goes back to the age-old adage at races at Daytona, more so in that two-car tandem-style racing that we saw in Cup cars, 6, 7, 8 years ago. Taylor, do you want to lead? Do you want to be trailing? It still applies, I think, more so to the trucks than the Cup cars these days because you can draft a lot easier. You want to be where David D. McCullough is. I think it's helpful that you've got Kenneth behind you there, so certainly those two are going to be working together, and the little family battle going on, first and second position on track. But I couldn't tell you if I'd rather be playing defense or trying to make the move off of the last corner. So, maybe this plays into Van Wazer's opportunity. Maybe he makes a move to the outside, finds some help there, but no rush. Long way to go, 25 next time by.
And the 8 truck of David, he has 25 laps to think about how he wants to make how to make the move, if he wants to play defense, if he wants to play offense, if he plays offense, how does he make the moves, if he plays defense, which lane he moves up to, and how he, manages it. It's very difficult to make the moves on the final laps. So the 0-3 definitely is at a disadvantage on the white flag. If he's in second place on the white flag, he's going to be more aggressive. And it's going to be very difficult to pass these guys, especially if only 4 trucks are right here, or in the single file line. If this was the white flag, it'd be very difficult to make a move on the outside. So the 8 truck in this 4 truck group that's now going to become an 8 truck group with a little bit of help behind, the 8 truck may be in a good position right now, but on that white flag, it's going to be very difficult to defend when you got 7, 8, possibly 10 other trucks hungry for that same position that you're in right now.
We've seen times where you ride the bottom, you go up the block the top, and they come back down on you. So sometimes, if the 8 and the 03 could work on something here, if they just stick with one another, it is going to be very difficult, for even a group of 2-3 cars on the outside to break up those two. If you have help, you're in a pretty good position. I think it comes down to assuming that the track position remains as it sits now in 20 laps from this point, how much support you have. But it certainly looks like the drivers behind your race leaders don't want to sit around, want to move to the inside by Patrick Langley. The 4 Wazer moved up to draft with him, and he split the gap down low and just stole third from him.
I don't think Patrick was looking to draft on the outside. I think he was looking to just get back on the inside. He's doing just that. He's staying on the inside right now. Almost to the back bumper, pushing the 0-3. Peaks to the outside. I think if Patrick wants to be on the outside, he wants to lead the outside.
Maybe it ends up being a strategical play, but I mean, that 85 is being awfully aggressive there on the left rear quarter panel. Kenneth McCullough, I'm sure he's thinking, hey, I'm in a good spot, let me be. But it looks like the 85 wants to be the instigator in this group. I mean, he is plastered on the back of that second place truck right now, all over him right now, and I didn't think the 03 is enjoying it much.
Basically, the 85 right now is playing Dale Earnhardt, just intimidating that 0-3, trying to make him make a mistake all over his rear view mirror, potentially scaring the driver of the 03. Just got to watch that 85 for a couple laps, see what kind of moves he makes. He peeks outside. He's actually going to try the outside right now, but he doesn't have too much help. He's now stuck on that outside as the 4 truck goes underneath him.
And 4 ducks down to the inside, so that may, kind of force the 85 to change up the strategy and to figure out what he wants to do here. You're going to need friends, and you don't need to have somebody ride or die with you to the end at Daytona, but if you make enemies out of everybody, they're certainly going to be less inclined to help you to the end. Now, I think we all know that most alliances, if your teammates out there, your brother, your dad, whoever you're racing against, you get to the last lap of the race at Daytona, I think it's all, all bets off, and it's going to be every man for himself, but you do need help getting to that point. So I think if Langley wants to survive, he's going to have to play it nicer, and I think he's doing that now that he's tucked in line. Wazer's in front of him, the 12 of Caleb Weekly's behind, and no cars to the outside. Jacob Prince wants to make a charge, the 17 to the outside. He's got help from the 45 of Matakara, a couple of other trucks to the inside thinking about going up, but nobody does.
Yeah, basically, it's the old saying goes, on the white flag, all bets are off. The Lions book goes out the window. It's every man for himself. However, there's still 20 laps. can still negotiate with a couple drivers, try to see if you can get to the position that you want to be in for that white flag to wave on you. The best position to be in is leading the inside and leading the outside. The two best positions. Right now, it's just the inside line that's really working, but that doesn't mean that many drivers aren't trying to make the outside line work. The 85's tried it before, the 4's tried it, the 45's trying it right now. It's not like these drivers aren't trying to make the outside line work. It's just very difficult to when you don't have many trucks trying to help you out at the same time.
Yeah, and you see on the outside here, the 18 machine going the wrong direction. Brandon Miranda was such a part of this race for a good while, but the earlier incident took him out of this one, and he is now 33 laps down, so courteous of him to stay to the outside and drop back and not interfere any further, but better than parking it. He's passed David Westergreen, who dropped out of the race. So kudos to the 18 of Miranda for sticking in there and continuing to run this one through. The 85 of Langley continues to, I think, be the most non-committal driver in the pack. Now that we're inside of 20 laps to go, the 4 goes up. He wants to work with him. Another run comes on the outside, courtesy of the 17. He wants to work with him. Langley just wants to go. I don't think he cares who he's going to use and what the conduit's going to be to get there. He wants to go to the front, and here he comes now with the challenge. Wazer, Langley, the outside of the McCulloughs.
And right now it's dead even. 2 cars outside, 2 cars on the inside. The 12 is just a couple tenths of a second back. Still has the draft of the 03. So if time goes on, we're going to be seeing these 3 pull up on the inside, excuse me. But right now it's just dead even between the 8, the 4, and the 03 and the 85. Those 4, they're just dead even right now.
They are dead even right now, and it is going to be difficult for either line, I think, to get a big advantage here. So look for kind of a lockjaw fight inside and out at the stripe. That time would have been a great finish. McCullough inside by 4/1000ths of a second. It's a fair point. If you're the 4 on the outside, Taylor, you don't need to clear him to win the race. You just got to have a nose in front at the start-finish line. That shows you, as they just went to the outside no later than a half a lap, you are side by side with the trucks who have been pretty good at working together, fighting for the race lead. That's how easy it is to get up on the outside. Of course, you're going to have to time it correctly, and drivers may get a little bit desperate and make those trucks a tad bit wider when it comes down to that white flag lap. But as we see them go now, good chance for the 4 and the 85. I mean, certainly anybody in these top 4 have a shot. Caleb Wheatley not necessarily buying into the strategy of going 2i2. P5's hanging back, but is losing a little bit of time to this lead group now as Wazer gets the advantage that time.
Yeah, they're still 2x2. And like you said, you don't have to clear him to win the race. But the one thing that you gotta do is you gotta hope to God that whoever's pushing you does not make a mistake. Push it in the corner, let out, you lose the speed. You basically gotta hope that the guy behind you is a very good pusher. Right now the 03 and the 85, those 2 are really showing that they're really good at pushing. They keep trading the first place spot left and right, and the 85 drifts up the track a little bit. That's gonna hurt the 4 a lot. As he falls from the lead, now he's side by side with the 03. But right now, since there's only 2 cars inside and outside, the only way that these 4 are gonna not be side by side is if a major mistake happens. Like the 85 drops low, which that's what he's doing right now, dropping low, leaving the 4 out to dry.
He's leaving the 4 out to dry, and maybe on brand there as Langley was pushing with the 4. They were able to get close, but not close enough, and he'll leave him. So we'll see maybe if Wazer is willing to return the favor, and like the 4 actually wanted to get away for the 85, goes high. Langley follows him, so he goes back down to the bottom. But I mean, Weekly in our car right there in 5 and 6 as we get awfully close and contact. That time more contact as the 4 gets body slammed by the 85. Langley hits him with a hip check coming off of the quarter. We'll take a replay of that one there as he came down. Those 2 drivers who were drafting partners 2 laps ago, no longer friends.
That was very close, and I'm very good job to that Ford for saving it, because he was dead sideways, and that was like a clear door slam right into the right side of the Ford truck. Good save, and he was able to keep the top 5. He only lost about a spot or 2 as he's staying right now in 5th. still in the draft with this lead pack.
But now we'll see if those two drivers end up back together, if there's any fireworks from it. But I'm sure Wazer and Langley won't play nice. How do the rest of the trucks feel about this? 10 battles right now on track, all within 0.8 of a second of each other, with 14 laps to go from Daytona, getting awfully close to go time. I think some drivers feel like we're already there because just 5 laps to go. 4-car breakaway, single file everywhere else. I think it's on now, 2 by 2, 5 on the inside and 5 on the outside.
Yeah, this is going to be exactly what we saw with the 2 by 2. You just got to hope that everybody pushes well with one another and hope that nobody makes a major mistake. And we just see a major mistake as the 85 turns the 03 in the middle of the back straightaway. Caution is out with 13 laps to go.
We knew the 85 had been a little bit more aggressive than we thought he should have been, and there's the mistake you're talking about, the truck pushing you. It's Langley gets into the right rear quarter panel of Kenneth McCullough Jr., turns him into the outside wall, and he crashes right into the innocent bystander of Matt Arcara. Both drivers had very good nights. They are now with heavy damage and maybe out of this race late, but 2 cars involved in that one for a wreck that started on the front row of the second row there in the 10-car pack. I think could have been a lot worse, but still no good. Caution just outside of 10 to go.
Yeah, there was only 2 trucks involved in a 10-truck pack. Very, very scary moment for many of these drivers. But now we're going to have a 9 to 10 lap shootout. Now it's definitely go time for many of these drivers.
And now the question becomes, do you want to come down to the pit lane or not? We talked about the pretty irrelevance of tires in a race like this, a night race at Daytona International Speedway. Don't think it would be all that critical. Certainly the drivers who were just involved in an accident are going to want to come down and get damage repairs. I suppose you could come down and get a little bit of fixes also. However, the way that all of this works, I would expect most drivers to stay out, decide not to come down to the pit lane. We'll see. Pit road open this time by behind the pace car. No takers all the way through back until the damaged entry of Matt Arcara. So we are going to have a restart coming up with half of that McCullough trio left. It is David McCullough still standing as your race leader. He leads atop of Patrick Langley, and Jake Van Wazer will take one more opportunity to step aside. And when we come back, we're going to settle this thing. You're watching the Sean MSD 250 on LSRTV.
$10,500 richer. 2-time NASCAR pilot is your 2013 NASCAR iRacing. It's going to be Humpy winning the race, and it's going to be Conti taking away his first NASCAR
2017 NASCAR Beginner Free Series Championship to Ryan Luza. Federer is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Beginner Free iRacing Series.
Team racing allows multiple iRacing members to team up and race together just like in real-world endurance series. Teammates can share driving duties, spot for one another, or be a crew chief. Team racing is free both to join a team and to create one. Each teammate races on his or her own computer from wherever they want to. Your teammates can be anywhere in the world, and changing drivers mid-race is as easy as a click of a button. iRacing features team endurance events ranging from just a couple of hours to 24 hours in length. So, if you fancy taking part in an iRacing endurance race in the future, you can learn more about team racing on the teams page on the member website.
And welcome back live to Daytona International Speedway, LSRTV's coverage of the Shine MSD 250. Continuing tonight from the World Center of Racing, and we are getting set for a restart off of a caution. 9 laps to go from Daytona. It is going to be a Patrick Langley, David McCullough front row, with the number 85 machine having selected the outside as where he is going to be placed for this one. In fact, no, they're going to score the 8, McCullough, as your control car after the incident. So here we go, 9 laps left, 11 trucks on the lead lap. Who's going to take it?
Very tight restart, unlike we've seen in the past couple restarts. This one is very tight because it's 9 laps to go. It's go time, and the outside line having 4 trucks right now. That 85 is really wanting to get up to the front of the field. He'll do it in any way possible. The 12 truck trying to give him a little bit of help. That inside line is prevailing on the back straightaway.
The inside advantage by 1.5 and now maybe 2 car lengths as they head off it into turn number 3. Again, big thing we pointed out earlier, the point to no return. If we take lap number 97 in this race and get a yellow, this thing's over with. Not going to have a chance to restart. So how hard do you push it now? Coming to 8 laps to go, but is McCullough leading with help from Van Wazer, and maybe a hesitant outside line that sees Langley, that sees Weekly, and also the 17 of Prince.
Well, the thing is the wreck doesn't even have to be up at the front of the field to end this race. It could happen in the back of the field. It could happen literally anywhere. It could be up front, could be up in the back. But we could, either way, cost comes out. And there's another wreck right now. 1 car on its side.
It was the 84, but it was the 17 who started that one. Jacob Prince, a ill-advised move, and I can only think it was a mistake there. Just turned left, and there was a truck there, and it's a big hit into the outside wall for the heavily damaged entry of Lyle A. Johnson. Johnson just got hooked there. 84 ends up on the outside wall and ends up landing on all 4 tires, but Jacob Prince also does a couple of spins around. That incident happened in the back of the pack. The battle for the race lead was ongoing. McCullough was about to be passed by the 4 of Jake Van Wazer for the race lead. That yellow flag could save his race because he'll be scored as P1. He slow down again to catch the pace car.
This, we will have a 4-lap shootout. So now we would be entering that point of no return that you were just talking about. So with that, if we get another yellow flag before the white flag, this race will be over.
And look at these drivers. They catch the pace car. They're already lined them up 2 by 2. But yes, this can confirm that we are going to have 1 final restart in this race. And that's going to be it. Because by the time we get back into green flag conditions, we will not have enough time to have an opportunity, to have another yellow and a restart. So this should set us up with about 3 laps to go or so. And of course, if a yellow flag were to come out at that point, this race would be over with. But I think that gives you a good shot at having a green flag run to the end of this race. Nobody even thinking about coming down to the pit lane for the cars that were not involved in that accident. In fact, Lyle Johnson going to come down reluctantly to get damage repaired. I would expect Jacob Prince going to be shortly behind him. Everybody else stayed out and already 2x2. They're itching to get back going. I think they're going to have to wait at least another 2-3 laps.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. These drivers, they want to get back going. They want to get back into that high-speed drama that they were just in. But unfortunately, with this caution, they're going to be pacing at 80 miles per hour for just a couple more minutes. And one thing that I want to ask is, even though we were going to have a 3 to 4 lap shootout, do you think that these drivers are going to wait until the white flag to be as aggressive as they just were, or are they just going to try and war it out, basically?
I think certainly if the magic number is, 3 or so, then we are within that point to no return. I don't really think anybody besides your race leader cares about trying to get to the last lap. Your race leader figures, hey, listen, you guys can rate at 3 laps to go. You're going to make my job a lot easier because I don't have to worry about trying to hold you off all the way to the end of this race. Of course, it gets interesting when you get to the white flag. If you get to the white flag, that it's all bets are off, but Patrick Langley's shown that he is not shy at all of getting up and being on the bumper. Somebody like a William Kruska and the Sim Racers for Mental Health Chevy, he has had spurts of, good runs this evening. Started this race in second position and kind of fallen off to the wayside a little bit. He's back up to P5, so with one of the cleaner trucks, he may have a good shot at this thing also.
Exactly. Anybody that has a truck that's running could easily win this race if they're on the lead lap. It's just a matter of where and when, and if you can get the right moves and all that sort of stuff. And, we have the 8 truck of David McCullough leading, but is he in the correct spot, as we're not getting the one to go just quite yet? Is this 8 truck in the correct spot? If the white flag comes out and they're double file, is there a potential shot that the driver that's pushing the 8 becomes too aggressive and tries to make a 3-wide move? Does anybody make like a major mistake? If they're single file, how is the 8 truck gonna react to a potential move on the outside? This 8 truck is going to have a lot of stress put on him when the white flag drops, if we run to the white flag under green.
Now we wait to see just when that restart is going to come, because the field right now comes down at corner number 2. If the lights were to go out this time by, and again, the drivers already know, if they have gotten a 2 to go or the 1 to go, we kind of have to sit around and wait to see what the lights on top of the pace car do. Makes it a little bit more suspenseful for those on our side of things. But if the lights do go out this time, it is that 3 lap to go around to the end. Either way, it will be the final restart of the night. The real thing that I'm thinking about is how far back in the pack is too far back, if anywhere. I mean, 9 trucks look like have competitive machines left. Lyle A. Johnson's got a ton of damage. He's on pit road. So is Matt Akara. Those were the 2 that were primarily involved in the incident, in addition to Jacob Prince. I think Prince was able to hang on, though, to his quick repairs because his Budweiser entry looks pretty stout. I mean, I don't really see any damage on it. So if that's the case, I mean, he's in a very good position. So maybe 9 competitive trucks still have a shot at this. I'm hesitant to say, that the top 5 is really the place that you got to be. I think that really all 9 trucks have a shot at this thing.
Yeah, since I don't really see much damage on any of these 9 trucks. If they're all in one big group on this final restart, all 9 of them will have a shot. It just depends on if the outside and the inside line in the back of the field get bunched up and have a good restart. If somebody on the inside or outside does not bunch up and get going on this restart as quickly as, let's say like the front, the first 2 rows, they're probably not going to have a good shot at winning, because if this was like 5 laps to go, or not 5, like 15, 20 laps to go, they would have a nice shot at, getting back up in the draft with a nice big run. These guys only have 3 more laps to get up and get to the win. It takes 1 lap to get these trucks back up to like full speed and stuff like that. Plus, it takes up about, a couple trucks to make a valiant move on the outside line. You got to be at the right place at the right time. But I do agree with you. 9 trucks have a shot to win this race, but maybe the top 5 is in its best position, basically. Everybody on the top 5 is in its best position to win this race.
Lights are out on top of the pace car. 3-lap run to the end from the Daytona International Speedway. Let's re-rack them and stack them for you. Front row has the 8 of David D. McCullough in control. It is the 4 on the outside of Jake Van Wazer in second. Row 2 sees Nate S. Stewart in third and Patrick Langley in the number 4 position. Row 3, William Kruska P5, Caleb Weekly in 6th spot. You also have Daniel Solo in 7th, TJ Fields in 8th on row 4, and then Jacob Prince P9 on row 5 with the damaged Lyle A. Johnson. Pace car going to go down and in for the final time tonight for the World Center of Racing. Green flag in the air. 3 laps to go in the Sean MSD 250.
Yeah, so far the first 2 rows got up to a great restart. And it looks like the 3rd row laid back just a little bit. So it looks like the top 4 are going to be battling side by side as they enter turns 1 and 2. Very tight together, almost contacted with each other. Now the 85 drops low, leaving the 4 out to dry on the outside line.
The 4 is all on his own. It is a 3-car run down on the bottom of the racetrack, and it looks like they are going to be able to clear. Yes, sir. So Wazer, second consecutive race start, he falls from the front row down into the number 4 position. Looking for popsicle sticks to the air this time. Going to be 2 laps to go. Big part of this race is, do you make it to the white flag? There's 5 miles left from the checkered.
It's going to be very tight. Top 3 single file. And one, the group by itself, and the 4 of Jake just trying to lead this pack back up to the front of the field. He's got 4 trucks versus 3. If these 4 can work together, they can easily get back up to this front 3. And the 85 looking to make a move on the outside. They got a half a lap to go to get to the white flag. And the 85's already making some aggressive moves for the lead.
Yeah, it looked like he really wanted to get down on the inside of Nate Stewart. The 13, though, pushed to the 8 for dear life. Didn't want to let that happen. And it wants the 4 and the 88 on the outside. Who's going to make the move first? White flag in the air this time. If they get there, there's a lot of contact. Stewart to the outside. Langley back down low. There's 1 lap left.
And these drivers, they swapped a lot. There was a lot of swapping everywhere on this track as they're side by side in the second row. However, the 8 truck is all by himself, single file in the catbird seat right now. However, he has a very aggressive 85 and a very aggressive 88 hunting down his tail as they come down the back straightaway.
Single file, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, as now the 85 tries to start a mutiny. There's a lot of contact. McCullough gets sideways. He's got to come way down the block. Kruska on the inside gets the door slammed on him. Final time in turn number 4. Everybody behind now, they're going to wreck. It's Langley into the wall. Side by side to the outside. It is going to be William Kruska at the start-finish line. Steals the win and takes it from Daytona.
0.02 of a second was the finishing result for Kruska to get the win here at Daytona International Speedway.
It all started with that battle for, at what the time was 2nd position. Kruska was in line buying his time, and the 85 machine comes down, squeezes the 4, ends up into the outside wall, and I think it distracted the 8 just enough for the 88 to go to the outside. Kruska remained unaffected, and as he went to the outside, was able to make the move. What a job.
William was at the right place at the right time. Able to avoid the wreck that happened behind him, and was able to pass the 8 just barely across the line. What a finish.
What a finish indeed. It'll be a replay that we'll look back on. Great result for William Kruska, who's going to go to victory lane. You see the 13 machine there alongside him at a front straightaway. Congratulations. But it's a win for the sim racers for mental health, the Chevy Silverado. So as he burns it down on the front straightaway, we'll take an opportunity to step aside. When we return, we'll take a look at your full race results and chat with tonight's top finishers. But Kruska to victory lane from Daytona. The post-race show is next. You're watching LSRTV, your home for sim racing.
Team racing allows multiple iRacing members to team up and race together, just like in real-world endurance series. Teammates can share driving duties, spot for one another, or be a crew chief. team racing is free, both to join a team and to create one. Each teammate races on his or her own computer from wherever they want to. Your teammates can be anywhere in the world, and changing drivers mid-race is as easy as a click of a button. iRacing features team endurance events ranging from just a couple of hours to 24 hours in length. So, if you fancy taking part in an iRacing endurance race in the future, you can learn more about team racing on the teams page on the member website.
Oh, it's working now.
And back live from the Daytona International Speedway for the LSRTV post-race show following tonight's Shine MSD, healing through the Arts 250. An exciting finish seems William Kruska get a victory lane. We'll chat with him and more in just a moment, but first welcome you back in to LSRTV's coverage of sim races for mental health and the LSRTV post-race show. Evan Pasoko, Taylor Frey still with you downstairs is Randy Cheneth, and we'll get a word from your race winners in just a minute, but first let's look top to bottom at tonight's LSRTV full race results. Kruska gets the win, the official margin of victory 0.024 seconds over David McCauley. Your pole sitter ends up second at the end of the night, with Jake Van Wazer, rounding out your top three. We'll try to get a word with all of them in just a moment. Caleb Weekly ends up fourth position in this one, and Nate Stewart rounds out your top five. Daniel Solo is P6. Jacob Prince finishes in seventh position, with TJ Fields in eighth. Lyle Johnson in ninth, and Matt Carr rounds out your top 10.
Patrick Langley will finish in 11th, 1 lap down. Brett Jones will finish in 12th place, 5 laps down. Kenneth McCullough Jr. in 13th. Kevin Spencer in 14th. David Streckman in 15th. Brian Ramstack in 16th. Brandon Miranda in 17th. David Langsgreen in 18th. Alexander Stinston in 19th. And rounding out the 20 truck field in the 20th position, 69 laps down, is Christopher McGulligan.
A nice look top to bottom at your LSRTV full race results. Let's go down to victory lane and chat with the driver of the number 88 machine, your race winner from Daytona International Speedway. William, congratulations on the win. You guys started off pretty good 100 laps ago, qualified in second, but I mean, really wasn't a part of those crazy 2-3 wide battles for the race lead much of the night. All of a sudden, you got a late race restart. You're right in the thick of things. Tell us how you executed it.
I can't even believe it. Like, I really didn't even know how I was going to execute it. Like, we all had a chance to win. Like, there's like 8 or 9 trucks that had all a chance to win. Like, we were just all crazy from the start with all the wrecks and avoiding all the wrecks. It was really good because we still had our fast repair through the whole race, so that's a bonus too. We avoided all the wrecks, and it's just awesome.
Photo finish coming down at the end of this one. Tell us what you were thinking 3 laps to go, and then, of course, that battle late where you were the predator in this scenario, and it was the Ada McCullough trying to play defense.
Yeah, whoever, I think it was the 4 that gave me a big push, and then the 13, I think, gave me the move there to help me get into that position, so I gotta thank them too for helping me. That's just crazy. Those last 3 laps, I don't know, there wasn't really nothing to expect. Like, anything could happen during any of those laps, and it played out pretty good for us.
I'd say so, certainly, and I know that it was a point that we had made also during the course of this race, the fact that, yeah, you know, it's maybe a different group of drivers every single time you guys run these monthly events, so it's maybe a little bit more difficult to kind of keep an eye on some drivers and kind of, I don't know, maybe understand a driver's MOs. So, you know, you come into a race a little bit green, not entirely sure what to expect. How'd this play out to your expectations?
Oh, yeah, definitely. There was a lot of the guys that I didn't know. A couple of them I knew from past monthly events, so I knew how they raced. A lot of them I didn't know how they were going to race, though, so that was kind of on the edge there to see how they were going to race and stuff. But other than that, yeah.
Well, it certainly ended up being an entertaining show, and I know it doesn't hurt when you end up in victory lane. For maybe those who were tuned in tonight and maybe enjoyed the action on track and want to get involved, how do they get in contact with you guys and get on track?
I post them on the forums. I try to do all the events like the last or second to last Thursday of each month. And then in 2 weeks before that event hops on, I post on the forums a sign-up sheet. Pretty much explains like what track, what day, how many laps and such. Also on their social medias too. I post them there too.
Well, we certainly give you guys the plugs over there and encourage everyone to follow us as well at LSRTV. But we appreciate you putting on the show, and congratulations on the win tonight, William. Best of luck. Hopefully we'll catch you back at LSR Victory Lane soon.
Yeah, thank you, man. That was fun.
Race winner tonight from the Daytona International Speedway, continuing on down through the finishing results. I believe the next driver we have an opportunity to talk with is the driver of the number 13 machine. Nathan Stewart comes home in 5th position tonight. Taylor, it's exactly where he started, but it was a crazy night for the Traxxas entry, and you are with him now.
All right, Nathan Stewart, you had a pretty decent day, but got caught up in some incidents that held you back from having a great position. How was this race all in all for you tonight?
I thought it was pretty good overall, and I just want to say congratulations to my teammate William for winning. But like you said early on, I got involved in a couple incidents, and I purposely fell back early on too because I didn't want to get caught up in those incidents. I had some good wreck avoidance mid-race, and then I was glad I was able to be there at the end and had a shot. But I just made the move too early.
So with that in mind, what could have you done basically differently? Possibly try to avoid like any other wrecks or something like that. It's Daytona. You really can't do much else other than avoid wrecks, which is very difficult to do when you're going 190 miles per hour. But would you have changed what kind of move you were going to make? Like, maybe switch a lane early on or something like that?
Honestly, I was completely fine up with the race up until coming to the white flag. When I made the move on the 8 to go to the outside and the 85 stuck to the inside, I would have rather have stuck to the inside and had the better chance at winning. It was then that I knew I had to do what I could with my teammate to help him win, so I just shoved the absolute heck out of the floor and just gave him the perfect push.
All right, and that in mind, you were up at the front of the field basically all day. You led a couple laps and all that sort of stuff. Who do you have to thank for your pretty outstanding performance here tonight?
I just want to thank Traxxas, Rebellion Racing, and I want to thank William for being my teammate tonight and for putting this whole show on. I really wish I could have came away with the win, but I'm really excited for him for winning.
All right, and that was Nathan Stewart.
Big thanks to your 5th place finisher for joining us. Also believe we have an opportunity now to chat with tonight's 4th place finisher as well. Caleb Weekly was one of those drivers that we saw up and into the battles all night long. He's 4th tonight. We're with him now. Caleb, congratulations. It's a good result for you guys. I know you come into a race like this, you really just hope to come out, have some fun, and get the race win. But tell us about the evening as it ended pretty well. Certainly, you guys start 9th, you finish P4. One of the challenging things, I think, about the way that this race played out was the fact that, the drivers up on the outside of the racetrack were able to make moves when they wanted to, but it wasn't necessarily aligned, for the entirety of this race. How'd you kind of figure out when and when not to make those moves to work through the pack a couple of times? Well, it's a P4 at the end of 250 miles this evening. I know it was a long night as well off of the racetrack, so we'll let you jet out of here. Anybody want to say hi to real quick?
My friend Maddie, she's still watching, and you guys are broadcasting,
Well, thanks for giving us some time here, Caleb. Again, congrats on a solid finish, and like we said with William and Nate, hopefully we'll catch you again on here soon. We look forward to that one. And, you know, for those who were tuning in tonight, want to join us, 9 o'clock Eastern, right here, LSR at the iRacing Esports Network. That is Caleb Weekly, who comes home in the number 4 position this evening. Big thanks, William Kruska, Nate S. Stewart, for giving us a little bit of time here post-race to pick the brains, Taylor, and round out what was a pretty good race today. We saw 20 trucks take to the green flag. Most of them stayed in it until we had a couple of big ones midway, and the stars aligned, per se, for an exciting finish at the end.
It was a typical Daytona race and did not disappoint in the slightest. We had 20 trucks, which seems like a pretty small field, but they put on a heck of a show for only being like 20 trucks and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, I will have to say that finish will definitely go down as one of the best Daytona finishes on the sim racing circuit.
It was certainly an exciting one, and again, because of the fact that they came to that last lap. And when you get to the white flag, you can kind of get away with a little bit more contact. None of the additional contact, and 4 ended it, and it was a good race. So we'll step aside. That's going to do it for us here tonight from the Daytona International Speedway. Of course, want you to stay up to date with us and tune in with us on your home for Sim Racing at iRacing Live. We're on the air tomorrow with the Dr. Squatch Pro Series presented by Sessor. That's 9 o'clock Eastern start right here on the LSRTV channel. And as Caleb plugged for you, can catch him and the rest of our drivers Monday night for the Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series, powered by Sim Racers for Mental Health. That one also a 9 o'clock Eastern start, although it is over on the iRacing Esports Network. Also encourage you to stay up to date with all things LSR TV. You get more info on how you can get on LSR TV by going to our website, www.livesimracing.com. But also, again, engage with us on the social side of things, facebook.com/LSR TV official. And you can follow us on Twitter at LSR TV for all that fun. So on behalf of our entire team, the folks behind the scenes that make things happen day to day, and of course for your broadcast team tonight, for myself, Evan Pasoko, for Taylor Frey, and for our director, Randy Cheneth, want to thank you for tuning in. Congratulations to William Kruska, your race winner tonight for the Daytona International Speedway. We'll catch you next time right here on LSR TV, your home for sim racing.